evening, guests, and welcome to the Museum of Chinese in America. Tonight, we are kicking off MOCA Fest 2024, our vibrant annual celebration of Lunar New Year, which features a variety of free and low-cost programs suitable for all ages. It is my pleasure to introduce a very special program that captures the essence of this Lunar New Year season. We will delve into the intriguing and flavorful world of Sichuan pepper. We are honored to host Yao Zhao, the visionary founder of 50 Hertz Tingly Food. Yao will guide us through the ma, the unique numbing sensation of Sichuan pepper, a cornerstone of Sichuan cuisine, and he will also share how this remarkable spice enhances condiments like chili crisp, and discuss how his journey in bringing the distinct aroma and character of Sichuan pepper to the forefront of culinary innovation. Originally, James Park, a culinary producer and author of Chili Crisp, was scheduled to join us. However, he's unable to participate due to a last-minute conflict. But his cookbook, Chili Crisp, is still available for sale with a donation of $15 if you are interested. So our discussion will be moderated by Kian Lam Kho, author of the award-winning cookbook, Phoenix Claws and Jade Trees, Essential Techniques of Authentic Chinese Cooking. Yao and Kian will weave their personal stories with professional insights, providing a comprehensive understanding of Sichuan pepper. And following the Q&A session, the museum will remain open until 9 p.m. if you would like to visit our exhibitions, including our newly opened special exhibit, 5 Senses of Chinatown. So for our virtual guests, hello. We encourage you to use the Q&A functions on your Zoom for submitting questions. And the event is also being recorded for on-demand viewing on MOCA's YouTube channel. So if you enjoy tonight's program, please consider supporting MOCA with a gift. Your generosity is vital to our institution and helps us create future programs that inspire and uplift diverse communities. As we welcome the Lunar New Year in a few weeks, let's explore new taste, deepen our understanding of culinary traditions, and enjoy the company of those who share our passion for food. So without further ado, I will hand it over to our moderator, Kian. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Good. Well, welcome and thank you for coming to join us during this horrible cold weather out there. And you know, we're not used to the normal winter anymore. This is what winter is supposed to be like, I guess. So, Yao, it's such an honor to have you here tonight. We really appreciate that you come and share your whole experience of introducing Sichuan peppercorn and everything here in the US.
It's really my pleasure because right before I was still ideating the business idea back in 2018 or 19, I came here and I met you
right.
at one of the events like this in the other room. I remember I was mesmerized by what you were talking about and also your background. I cold messaged you afterwards. I think we were introduced, but I cold messaged you afterwards. Like, hey, Kian, I was ideating this business idea. Can I talk to you? And you replied to me back right away. And then we had coffee together. And one of the key elements of our companies right now, if you look at our logo, there's one Chinese character using like a brush. It's ma, it's the character ma, numbing. And that was actually inspired by Kian because you mentioned something about Cathay Pacific, how Cathay Pacific, the airline, the logo is a brush, but you couldn't really tell, but it's so subtle. So you said you should blend some Asianness, blend some tradition there. So I called a friend of mine's, one of my best friends from high school, and her dad is a very famous calligrapher. So he did several styles and I picked.
So that was his calligraphy.
So that was your inspiration.
But that was your friend's father's.
That's my father's calligraphy. Yes. So it's still on the logo.
On the logo, yeah, that's great. Because when we first talked about that, I remember I was saying that one of the characteristics about this Sichuan peppercorn is the ma, which really is the numbing, tingling sensation that you get when you consume that, and I just thought that is one of the an important characteristic, and you can brand it that way, using that tinglingness, the numbingness as your brand.
Yeah, no,
And in fact, 50 hertz is based on that,
so
right? I mean, that is one of the things that that's why you brand it as 50 hertz.
yeah, so actually my vision has never changed from the get-go. Even the brand is actually named 50 hertz because from the get-go, I wasn't just selling Sichuan peppers. I wanted to sell that sensation. I wanted to sell that unique spice, but it's the sensation and its aroma that I want to sell, especially that sensation because it's so unique.
Right.
Very few spice in the world has that, give you that little tingling, numbing sensation. So my vision has never changed. But of course, I think I've been doing this for like almost 4 years before the pandemic. Products has expanded and new ideas keep coming up, new collaborations, because somehow some people recognize what I'm doing and then came up to me saying, hey, can we do a chocolate together? Can we do a beer together? So that's exactly what I wanted to do from the get-go.
Right.
So,
you're really not just introducing the Sichuan peppercorn. You're actually introducing the flavor, that tinglingness. That is what is the most important part in this whole introduction.
Exactly. And I feel like I should explain. So 50 hertz. Why it's called 50 hertz? It's because it's actually the tingly, buzzing, numbing sensation. It vibrates on your tongue at the frequency of 50 hertz. And it's actually not junk science. It's published in 2013 in the Royal Society in London, in a peer-reviewed science journal, in a paper. And I actually flew to London to meet the professor who is the head of the neuroscience department at UCL, he has like a white hair, like sticking out, like a mad scientist type of person. And he's really, really nice, Professor Patrick Haggard. And he actually gave me his blessing for using his scientific work. And he said, oh, I've never thought my scientific work could be put into good commercial use. And we had a selfie together with the peanuts, and he loved it. So it's not junk science. I found this, I read this paper and I said, that's what I want to do. So why don't I use 50 hertz as the brand name, which is really, I think, quite brilliant.
I think it is brilliant.
Quite on brand.
Well, I think it is brilliant, but how has it worked for the product itself, though? Has people do people get confused by this, or do they actually understand, or how do you?
I think I was watching you guys when I mentioned the 50 hertz. After I tell the story, I saw some of you lift your face, like you say, oh, that's right. So I think initially you don't we say, oh, I'm the CEO of 50 hertz. People get confused, but as soon as I tell them the story, then they say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Right. It's a good way. So I'm glad. I'm still pretty glad I chose this name. And it's more story to tell, and I'm all about storytelling.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Sichuan peppercorn itself. Not since we're talking about this particular product. I'm going to debunk this idea that it actually is pepper. It's actually Sichuan peppercorn is really not in the pepper family. It's the seeds of a prickly ash tree or bush, right? It's a bush. Or is it? It's a tree. It's a tree. Okay. I've never seen one, so this is why. But I know that it's not pepper per se, and so tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So Sichuan pepper is actually, that's how it's known in the US or in the West, Sichuan pepper, but actually both words are misnomers. It's not just from Sichuan, it's from a whole host of provinces. It's in that whole region. So it shouldn't be just Sichuan pepper. It's called Sichuan pepper because Sichuan is famous for its food and it's widely used and prevalent in Sichuan cooking. But Sichuan pepper is grown in Yunnan, in Chongqing, in Gansu, Shanxi. So that whole region produces Sichuan pepper. So calling it Sichuan pepper is a misnomer, and pepper or peppercorn, right? Usually you call it Sichuan peppercorn, is also a misnomer because it has nothing to do with peppercorn. Because peppercorn, the black peppercorn, right? It's the corn, it's the seeds that has all the flavors. But for Sichuan pepper, it's actually the skin because it's actually a citrus fruit. It's a citrus fruit. So the flavor, the sensation, the chemicals, all concentrated on the skin. So the lack of seeds in Sichuan peppers product, if you buy a bag of Sichuan pepper, the lack of seeds is a sign of superior quality. So yeah, so if you go to Chinese market or Asian market next time, usually their Sichuan pepper are full of black seeds, which is bitter, and you're not supposed to eat them. So yeah, so it's a citrus fruit, and it's indigenous to China, right? So Sichuan food is famous for mala, numbing and spicy. But traditional Sichuan food for thousands of years is not hot spicy, because chili peppers only got into China in the, I think, 1600 in the Ming Dynasty, after it's the Columbian exchange from the New World, from South America. So traditionally, Sichuan food, it's also spicy, but it's from Sichuan pepper, it's from ginger, from garlic. So that's the traditional spice. So yeah, so Sichuan pepper is, well, its real name is huajiao, or flower pepper. That's the direct translation. So I'm a huge fan of calling it flower pepper because it's super aromatic. It has this amazing citrusy floral aroma. And then it has this very unique tongue tingling sensation. Yeah.
So many of you probably do not realize this, but Sichuan peppercorn was actually banned in the U.S. during the 1970s, 1980s. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. So Sichuan pepper was banned by the USDA in, I think, since the 1960s. It was banned because Sichuan pepper is, as I said, it's a citrus fruit. So they thought it carries a canker bacteria that would attack other citrus trees. But it was actually wrong, because later, when they studied this, they realized even after the ban, that attack didn't get it reduced. So it's not from Sichuan pepper, but they never lifted the ban. So the ban has always been there until early 2000. So they lifted the ban, but added a caveat. They said any import of Sichuan pepper has to be heat treated. So as you know, any heat to any spice is detrimental to its flavor, to its quality. And also at the time, I don't think Sichuan food or Sichuan pepper is now as popular as now. So a lot of the importers at the time was Cantonese, like from Chinatown. They don't know what Sichuan pepper is, so they just keep heat treating the Sichuan pepper just to import them and sell them. And then only, I think, about 10 years ago, they also lift the caveat. So there's nothing preventing, no restriction. And if you're interested, there are actually very good reporting on New York Times, NPR, and also on USDA website. The officer talked about this whole episode of this history. Yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting. So I know that the Sichuan peppercorn has many different varieties, and there's the green, and then there's the red. The red is the most common. I think people associate Sichuan peppercorn as the red peppercorn. Do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between the green and the red, and what is there any flavor difference?
Oh yeah. So I actually started the business with the green, because I was born and raised in China, and I came to US only for grad school. And after living abroad for many years, I went back to China, and my mom was making a cucumber salad to use the green Sichuan pepper oil. And I'm very familiar with the Sichuan pepper, of course, but the green one, really, at that time, I had a bite. I was like, wow, what is this super bright floral flavor? And then I started doing research. I realized, oh, actually, there's green and red Sichuan pepper, and there are two different varieties, similar to red wine grapes and white wine grapes. It's not a the red is not more mature than the green. It's just two different varieties. And then the green is, as I said, bright, more aromatic, very citrusy, like a glass of white wine. You pair it with fish, with seafood. Same as actually the green Sichuan peppers. If you go to a restaurant, more often than not, you see green Sichuan pepper fish, with pickles, pickled cabbage or something like that. And then the red one, right? As everyone knows, the red one is It's widely used in mapo tofu, kung pao chicken. It's the prized one. And then the green one, I think it's the new kid around the block. That's why, a lot of our products heavily focused on the green one. It's just, it's new, it's quite novel, and it's more, I think it's very sophisticated. Yeah.
It is more floral. Yeah, I really agree that it's not as sharp. It's not as
it's very good with vegetables.
Right.
If you stir fry, bok choy or snow pea shoots, you can throw a little bit, and it really alleviates, intensifies the vegetable flavor. It's really quite good. Yeah, and with fish and seafood.
And in China, the peppercorn is used as a fresh ingredient as well as dried ingredients, correct? I mean, so do you want to talk a little bit about
so I wish I could import the fresh ones. Yeah, there are fresh ones that you see here, but it's
frozen, right?
It's frozen, and it's a bit in a gray area.
Yeah.
To legitimately, legally import them, it's just a lot of things. But yeah, the fresh ones, it's used as a garnish in China, and usually you see like a dish, right, come up, and then you see the fresh green Sichuan peppers sitting on top of the dish, and then the chef would come out and pour boiling oil, and then create that that sensation, that effect, that sensational effect. Sizzling, and then the hot oil hits the fresh bumps on the pepper, and then the aroma will release the aroma, and then just it permeates the room, that aroma. So it's really quite good. There are a couple of restaurants in New York doing the similar stuff.
Yeah.
But
I think they're mostly frozen when they
frozen. You have to. You have to.
Right, right.
And also, it's very hard to clean it. I think this is the difference. There's another ingredient. It's like a cousin of Sichuan pepper. It's called sansho. It's the Japanese version of Sichuan pepper. Whereas Japanese, they're so exquisite. They make everything exquisite, right? So if you buy fresh sansho in the US, it's all very well. It's cleaned. It's well. It just looks very pretty. It's ready to use. Whereas I think a lot of times when you get fresh Sichuan pepper here, they're still like, you need to clean it. There's some mud, there's some dirt. It's not as well presented as like the Japanese ones. Yes. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the source of your product. I mean, where did you source it, and how do they grow it, and process?
So I'm from Chongqing. It's a city of 34 million people that nobody has heard of. It's a big city. It's actually technically the world's biggest city. It used to be part of Sichuan, and then in 1997 it became an independent province. So I'm from there, and so it's very easy for me. Well, easier. Still a lot of hurdles and challenges to source and go directly to the source. So I actually, over the summer, I was just in China because Sichuan pepper is harvested over the summer. So I spent about 2 months in China. This is actually the first time after pandemic I spent the harvest season in China. So I went to 4 places. 2 places for red Sichuan peppers and 2 places for the green. I went to 1 place in Yunnan and 1 place in Sichuan for the green, and then I went to Gansu and another place in Sichuan for the red Sichuan peppers. So so as I said, it grows in all of these places, and it's really quite far because Sichuan pepper only grows on the high mountains. So the infrastructure in China is very good. I can take a bullet train basically from Chongqing directly to the source. But to access to the mountain, you have to hire a local driver to drive you really like on a winding road up to the mountain. So so that's where I source it, and I just go directly to the farmers because I speak a dialect.
And where is it processed there?
Processed in Sichuan. Processed in Sichuan, and also our nice packaging is also made in
all the packaging.
All the packaging down there. Yeah.
Great. What is the tree like? I mean, like I mentioned, I have never seen it. So tell us a little bit about.
It's very, very interesting. I wish I could, take people there, it's actually even as even as a tourist destination, it's worth going because there are a few reasons. One, that part of China is just beautiful. The food is good. The mountains over the summer. It's kind of hot, but once you're on the mountain, it's actually okay. And the tree, when it's during the harvest season, because Sichuan pepper is also very pretty, right? Bright red. The red one is bright red, and the green one is really verdant green. So when I went, it was the harvest season. The entire mountain smells Sichuan pepper. It has that aroma, and it's covered in red color. I went to the time I went, it was mainly the red harvest.
Right.
The entire mountain was like covered in like red color, and then you see the harvest, right? I have to talk about the harvest because harvest is really interesting. The harvest, Sichuan pepper is called prickliage. So there are very sharp thorns on the branch. Yeah, I wish I could actually show photos, but automation hasn't arrived. You cannot use a machine to harvest Sichuan pepper.
So this is all harvested
You
manually?
have to.
Oh my
you
goodness.
have to.
Yeah.
And you have to dexterously avoid the thorns. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really, the thorns are huge, huge thorns. It's really quite interesting to see them, how they navigate the thorns. So you see, no, so, but the thing is, you also see people, chatting away, that they're just farmers,
Right.
cutting the branches
Right,
and
right.
enjoying and chatting. So it was just a very, I don't know, the whole scene is just very,
Pastoral.
yeah, very pastoral, but also very happy, I think.
Right.
It's a happy thing. Also, one of the farms that I went, the entire mountain was covered in wind farms.
Oh.
So I'm a clean energy specialist, economist. That's my previous background.
Your previous life?
So when I combined the Sichuan pepper with giant wind turbine in the field, I was like, yes.
That's Yao.
I'm home. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what about food? I mean, let's talk about Sichuan food, right?
Okay.
Because this is such a huge part of Sichuan cooking.
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up with this, and the Sichuan peppercorn is indigenous to China, and then it's combined with this imported product from halfway around the world. And how did that happen? And how does are you familiar on how that happened? I mean, how did the two flavors sort of combine, become such a distinct Sichuan flavor?
I mean, it's very much the balance of yin and yang, in my opinion, right? So, of course, chili peppers is the hot, the fire, the yang. And then Sichuan pepper, as I said, it's floral, it's citrusy, and it's tingly. The tingling sensation, if you really savor it, it's actually a cooling effect. It's actually, it cools you down because it's not spicy. There's no capsaicin. There's no burning. It's actually like minty. That's why if you eat Sichuan pepper, you feel the tingle. If you eat our peanuts and then you drink cold icy beer, it intensifies that iciness. So it's a perfect balance between the fire and the yin and yang. So I think that's how it happens. Yeah, but also I would have to say, mala, right? It's a famous Sichuan flavor combination. But Sichuan food is really much more than mala.
Yes.
It's really just the mala is actually a very, I think, a small portion of the flavor profile.
Right. However, the mala flavor really is iconic of Sichuan food. It's not nowhere else in China use that flavor
because it's exciting.
It is.
It's exciting. It's exciting, and it travels well.
Right.
Because it's a flavor and sensation. And Sichuan food doesn't really require ingredients like Yunnan food or many other regional cuisines in China. You can cook the same. You don't have to cook the same fish. You can buy other fish and then use the same sauce, mala sauce or Sichuan pepper, and then it's the same flavor profile. So that's why I think Sichuan food is so popular now, because it travels so well.
Right.
I think it's relatively low maintenance to make. Yeah.
That's an interesting way of seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess So you think that that's the reason why it conquered the world, the flavor of Sichuan cooking?
Yes. Yeah. I think so. And it's also, I mean, as I said, right? You pour, boiling boiling oil on chili peppers or Sichuan peppers, and then everyone's like, wow.
And the
It's very-
flavor
it's
just comes
exciting-
through.
It's
Yeah.
exciting food.
Yeah, it
It's exciting
is.
food.
It really is very exciting. Okay. So how do you think that the ma flavor can be, applied into a lot of the Western or European or American dishes that, or ingredients that how do you combine them? How do you?
That's my hope. That's really my hope. So the inspiration I had for this business is actually a pasta dish. So as I said, I had my mom's cucumber salad back then with this green Sichuan pepper oil. And I came back to the US with a bottle of the green Sichuan oil. And then my partner was making a Thomas Keller's pasta dish. It was very simple. It was Parmesan cheese and shallots. And he drizzled the green Sichuan pepper oil that I brought back. And he's British, and he said, "Oh wow, what is this? Like he never had it before." And he said, "Oh, I think this can go beyond Chinese food," and that actually triggered me to explore this business idea. So I think the oils and peppers can be used widely in like pasta dish, in pizza. Actually dipping pizza. A lot of our customers saying they like it in their scrambled eggs in the morning. So yeah, so I think there are a lot of applications can be explored, but for me, to teach, there's a lot of education cost. So we are doing a lot of snacks because it's so easy to carry and to tell people, wow, this is what you're trying to do. Because when I say, oh, I'm selling Sichuan pepper, I'm selling a numbing sensation, people say, what is that? Like, they don't, because it's so novel, it's so out there, people don't get it. But as soon as they taste it, they say, okay, I get it. And also Sichuan is so much associated with chili crisp or chili oil.
Right.
Whenever I mention I'm selling Sichuan pepper, the people think I'm a chili oil company.
Right.
But it's not. Like,
Right.
we're doing something quite different.
Right. Right. Well, this is when I wish we had James around that we can talk about chili crisp. Well, maybe you can talk a little bit about since you're I mean, it's part of your part of the Sichuan cuisine.
Yeah.
So chili crisp and so on. So I mean, again, chili crisp is pretty much like conquered the world at this point. It's like there's a craze over everything chili crisp. How do you think that happened? Why do you think that it became such a sensation in terms of flavor?
Oh, now I really wish James is here.
Yeah.
I remember I grew up eating chili crisp too. The famous brand
Right,
Lao Dan Ma, right?
Yeah.
That famous jar. And she's also like one of the richest people in China. And she's very low key. Nobody knows who she is. I think it's a universal. It's a very versatile condiment. It has this crunchiness. I think especially the crunch is a very sought after sensation, right? And then the mala balance, as I said, it's a great balance.
Right.
And then traditionally there is a lot of MSG in there, so it's a very umami forward condiment.
Right.
So but I think in the US, I mean, the hot sauce space is so saturated.
Right.
So I think people are looking for something new on the shelf. So I think a combination of all those factors made the chili crisp like a new craze.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But actually, chili oil has many different forms in China. So, I mean, Sichuan is particularly so the chili crisp itself, just a particular type of chili oil. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think another part of the chili crisp is it uses a lot of aromatics. You have to use a lot of onion, green onion, Sichuan pepper. So it's really more than being spicy.
Right.
It's very xiang, very fragrant.
Very fragrant.
Very, very fragrant.
Yeah.
So I think that also just pulls away.
It enhances a lot of different other flavors. So it's a great, like you say, it's a great condiment to enhance other flavors. Yeah. So let's talk about your business. You've created this incredible business in 4 years, and it's like you mentioned we met when you were still ideating the company, the product. So one of the things that I wanted to know is, how did that come about? Maybe you have already answered. You mentioned about the pasta dish, right? That somebody that your partner created. Is that how it came about, that you decided that maybe you want to explore that? I mean, is that how did that came about?
I think I at the time I was it was actually quite a few years ago, like 6 years ago. So I was turning 30, like so 60. So I'm 36 now, and at turning 30, and I worked for the World Bank at the time. I'm still doing some work for them.
Doing wind farm.
Doing wind farms, and I'm a clean energy guy, policy. I think it's a combination of factors. I think I was eager to do something different, and also I got my U.S. green card. So I just felt I'm an immigrant, right? I came to this country, and then I think as immigrants, there's a lot of limitations, but at the time I said, oh, I could actually do a lot of things. I can do whatever I want. So I just felt it's very liberating. And then I want to do something different from my previous research-heavy economist job. So I realized, I think I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I really like building stuff. I like meeting new people. I like to, when I truly believe in something, I like evangelizing it, to tell people about it. So I quite enjoy it. And then this idea sort of came about, and I didn't let it go.
Well, I'm glad you got this idea, because it's sensation.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
sensational.
Hopefully,
So after you've come up with this product concept, you were looking into branding it. How did you find? Where did you? What resources did you look at to come up with this branding idea of 50 Hertz?
So I'm very scrappy. I'm very, very scrappy. I am a bootstrapped small business, and also I feel like I have a lot of imposter syndrome. Even though I know now, I think now I have more confidence, because back then I really think I'm doing something quite niche. Still, I'm doing something very niche, and I'm not sure if people will like it. Like I tell people numbing, like people are like, what is that? But now I have more data. Now I have a customer base. People seems to really like it. So now I'm getting over that imposter syndrome. So back then, I don't want to go out and raise money, because I don't think people will believe in it. I still haven't raised any money. So I just want to get the product out there. So I did the initial branding and labeling. So basically, there was no branding. It was like, basically, I talk to you. You tell me, oh, you should put a, Chinese characters. Oh, that's a good idea. I should put in there. So it was a very scrappy process. And only until last year, I won a pitch competition. It's like a Shark Tank, like a mini Shark Tank kind of thing. And then we won a second place. So there's a prize money. So I used that prize money to do the whole rebranding, not rebranding, like brand elevation. So now, if you see, like we did like this whole like rebranding with like lightning bolt to make it more exciting. The previous branding was very pretty. It was actually, I think it's actually very functional. It's not ugly. It's actually, a lot of people commented on it. But now everything is consistent. There's a whole thinking behind it, because I don't have the CPG, the consumer packaged goods industry background. So I don't understand the importance behind it. But now I do. Now I really think, wow, these things make a huge difference when you can present product in a consistent way, iconic way. People can recognize it, can stand out on the shelf. But I think it's a process for me. Like, I am also learning that whole, I'm walking and learning and living that whole process, because the thinking behind it, the vision didn't change, but the thinking behind it has changed, has evolved. So I think it took me some time to resolve this.
So along the way, as you were developing your company, I mean, as you're building your company, did you encounter any problem? Any?
So I had this huge problem. 2 months after I started the business, at the time I had one product, the green Sichuan pepper oil. The New York Times picked it up. And then they wrote about it. And then they gave me a warning. They said, we have 5 million readers. You have to be ready. And I didn't know. I mean, I couldn't get ready. Like I didn't have money. It was the height of the pandemic. So we agreed on a time, on a date to run the story. It was July 2nd, 2020. 2020. So if you remember, it was really the height of the pandemic. That summer, like nothing was working. We sold 22,000 bottles overnight. I was like, oh my
The
God,
power
what did I
of
do?
New York Times, right?
Yeah, it was very exhilarating. It was like
Yeah.
sort of out of the body kind of experience. My phone didn't stop ringing for 3 days.
Right.
Like just like the orders and people emailing. So everything was back ordered. And then I spent like 2 months trying to fulfill that
the orders.
order.
Yeah.
It was very stressful. I was doing it on my own.
Mhm.
Initially, I was just packaged. I prepared 1,000 bottles. I did prepare. I prepared 1,000 bottles, thinking it must be enough, you know. And then it was like 22 times more than what I had.
So how did
prepared.
you fulfill the orders?
So I packaged the first 1,000 bottles. I was like, no more. Like I'm done packaging. Like I don't want to do this anymore. So I outsourced it to a 3PL, like a warehouse, a packaging company. But it was very bad. I was inexperienced. They're very expensive. And also the pandemic, nothing was working, right? The short staffed, everything. So it was a lot of mistakes, a lot of, yeah, it was just a very tough time. I would wake up in the middle of the night panicking.
I can
But
imagine.
eventually I got over it. And then I was very grateful for the experience because overnight I got, so many people that as our customer, we can talk to, we can email them. And then they're still actually coming back. And then they witnessed it from oil to peanuts now and to chocolate. And then it seems like, and actually expanding the product line really helps because he's like, oh yeah, this guy is not just doing oils or peppers. He's doing more.
So it's in a way, it is sort of like educating the public as to
Yes.
what can be done with the peppercorn itself. Yeah.
But you have to be. I think you have to think through this. I have to do it judiciously. How to. I mean, it is quite. If you use too much, if you just present it, this oil to them, don't tell them how to use it, it can turn people off.
Yeah.
So you have to. I think the product has to be really well made.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So well, I think we're going to be around closing down this discussion soon. But before we do that, I want to ask you, what is the future? Do you have where do you see these products going, and what is the
I
prospect?
want Sichuan pepper and its tingling sensation and its aroma to be a new thing in the world, to be recognized, to be known first, because nobody knows about. I mean, very few people. Like now, you guys are really the first adopters sitting here, but I want it to be the new wasabi. Maybe if you think about wasabi, it's a new kick, and it's there's a very famous wasabi peas, right? Like what does it have to be with peas? It doesn't have to, but people like that kick, right? So I think in general people like a sensation. People like being stimulated. So I think I want Sichuan pepper to be known to the world, and I want our product, 50 Hertz, to be associated as the first brand to make this happen, to introduce this, to make it happen. And then I think on a product level, I want our product with consistent branding, with a lightning bolt, tingly on our branding, and I want hopefully a whole section of Whole Foods or wherever can be dedicated to Tingly Foods, like this a new sensation. Even though I know they may be placed in different parts at Whole Foods, but it's the branding and everything will be so iconic. People will say, oh, that's the tingly numbing stuff. That's my.
So I guess maybe the new section in our local supermarket too, right? Not just Whole Food.
Yeah, for example, like I just came here from Pearl River at Charles Market. They carry our products, and then because I think they're gonna try selling our new product, Tingly Brittle. It's this toffee, really really good. Because they are a boutique store, right? Compared to like Whole Foods. For example, they can put our peanuts next to Brittle, and that's already a visual block. That's a tingly section. And we can keep adding it to that collection. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So on that note, I'm opening up the floor for question and answer. So, okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm so hungry. Like I was just salivating, like so hungry. My question is, I'm really curious about the origin of the mala seed. Like how, I mean, the citrus fruit. Like how did this plant develop this need to like become like a mala? Kind of like how the profiles of that, but also can you grow this in other places around the world? Can you mimic that kind of environment? I know that there are some places like in the US that are growing Thai chili peppers now. So I was just curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a very interesting question. So I'll answer the second one first. So yes, you can grow it in the US. And I know a few of my customers and some people wrote to me saying, hey, you know, we love Sichuan pepper. We're growing, we have a Sichuan pepper tree in our backyard. And a few of them are in Hudson Valley, just outside of New York. And a few of them in the Bay Area, actually, the famous food scientist Harold McGee. He's very famous. He wrote on food and cooking, which is basically a red Bible for any chefs and the food scientists. He has a Sichuan pepper tree in his backyard. And I also know a couple of people in Vashon Island outside of Seattle. Yeah. So I think you can. Yeah.
How long does it take?
Oh, I don't actually know. The tree can grow, it can grow quite big. But I don't, yeah, I think maybe it takes a couple of years and you can bear fruit. Fosha Dunlop has a tree in her place in London as well. So you see like it, even though in China it needs very sultry summer, it needs cold winter, and it goes onto the mountains. But I think, yeah, but around the world, people can just grow in outside of New York, So, and it's very pretty. It's when it bears fruit, it's very pretty. Yeah. And your first question, okay, so how is ma developed, right? So the reason why it's numbing, it's because there is one chemical in Sichuan pepper called alpha hydroxy alpha sansho. That's the chemical that makes you tingling. And the mechanism is this chemical can, when you eat Sichuan pepper, this chemical can penetrate very thin epidermis, very thin skins, so your lips and tongues. So if you apply Sichuan pepper on your normal skin, you don't feel anything, but it goes, it can only go through your very thin skins, and then it triggers your brain to think it's vibrating, but it's obviously your skin is not vibrating. So they play some mind trick in your brain. And I think how the tree develops this, I don't know actually. I don't know. Maybe it's to fend off some animals. But they did grow very thick thorn. That is, but I know, some giraffe actually eats very big thorns. If you go to safari in Africa, you see them like eating very, very big thorns. So sorry, I don't have an directly answer to that one, but yeah, it's a good question. Yeah.
So with those people that has the Sichuan peppercorn tree here in the U.S., how did they import them?
No, they didn't import them. So you can basically use the seeds and plant it. Yeah. And also I know a few bonsai makers. They make a very pretty Sichuan pepper bonsai. Yeah, very nice. I wish I could actually sell those. Yeah, they make a Sichuan pepper bonsai. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well,
thank you. Maybe it's excuse me, like hot peppers, to answer maybe to come back to the previous question. Hot peppers, I think they're adapted so that birds are able to eat them, yes, and they can propagate further than mammals. You don't want mammals eating the chili peppers, so it's too hot for a mammal to eat. My question to you is there any other, off the top of your head, other sort of Chinese ingredient or spice or something from your home area that you think could also be introduced abroad for you, or into this market, into this country
Yeah.
in a similar way?
Yeah. So there is a very, I love this one ingredient. I don't know how to say it in English. It's prevalent in Guizhou cooking. Guizhou is a province that very few people know. It's just south of Sichuan. There's one ingredient called the mujiangzi. I should know the Chinese name, but it's very lemongrassy. Basically, it's a bit similar to like a lemongrass flavor. It's used in Guizhou's fermentation. So Guizhou food is famous for its fermentation, and that ingredient really should be known. It's a kind of ginger. Well, the direct translation is wood ginger. So I think it's a gingery ingredient, but it's the flavor is lemongrassy, a bit like lemongrass. I love it, and you can also make oil with that. So it's very. I thought about actually importing that ingredients in the future, since I now know how to do oil supply chain and stuff. But it is that ingredients just the first came to my mind. Like, oh wow, this ingredient should be known to the world. Yeah, yeah. Ah, no, tingly first. Yes, tingly first. Ah, that one has 0 hertz. No hertz.
Thank you for being here. This is more about your business, but it's kind of related to your question as well, which is I noticed that all the branding of Tingly focuses on the flavor and educating new customers about the flavor. But at the same time, you mentioned that Sichuan peppercorn is indigenously grown in these regions in China. Is it important to you that customers know the provenance of the ingredients as part of the branding or any kind of education about it?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. So I was in China this summer, right? And then all these farmers, they're cutting it and they're harvesting, and they're very happy. And then I asked them, how much do they earn? It's nothing. They are, I mean, the harvest, as I said, it's really quite bloody. You know, if they can get stung by the thorns, and they have to wear these thick gloves and use scissors to cut it, and then it can be stung. Anyways, and then ask them also, how much do you earn? First of all, it's seasonal, so they only get this income every summer, and then they do other things, do other kind of work. And then I have the number in my phone. I took some notes, but I don't remember it now. But it's really nothing. So I think so. One of my goals of doing this business is really to bring more revenue to them, because I want to open up overseas interest in this spice. And the reason is because I was showing them our products, our packaging, right? They've never seen like this kind of modern packaging, and I show them our Americans, foreigners eating Sichuan pepper. It brought them a lot of joy and pride, and they only know it's sometimes it's in their backyard. They've never thought there could be overseas interest. So it's also important because Sichuan pepper actually is not a dying industry, but it's also not doing very well because, as I said, they earn very little. It's a tough crop to harvest, to grow, and then the income is little. So a lot of farmers, they are actually abandoning Sichuan pepper, replacing their Sichuan pepper trees with apple trees or peach trees, because they can get the fruit and they can also get some tourism income, because there are a lot of tourists would come and see the blossom, right? Like the peach blossom or the apple tree blossom. So when I heard this, I was like, wow, I don't want this industry to shrink. I wanted to grow. And I was also, we actually last year we made Sichuan pepper jewelry. We collaborated when one of our customers is a jewelry designer. So she approached us and said, hey, can I design some jewelries for you, Sichuan peppers? Because actually Sichuan pepper used to be a token of love in the ancient times, because Sichuan pepper looks like testicles. Yeah. So it's a symbol of love and a symbol of reproductivity. It's really well documented. And Fu Xiaodong wrote about it. So I had this idea, and then this jewelry designer of as a customer, so I just thought, oh, this is the perfect idea. So we actually designed 4 different styles of earring and pendant with green and red Sichuan peppers. And I brought the jewelry to the field, and we were trying it on the farmers. Oh, they were amazed. They were like, wow, I never, just like, so it's very important for me to recognize the origin and then the reason why I'm focusing a lot on the flavor sensation is because I still think that's like the most unique. Yeah, but the education piece, I would love to do more. Like, this kind of talk. It's hard to fit all of the things into one page and into one story. So yeah, thanks for asking that question. Yeah.
Saying, mammals might find it hot, but I have heard of birds being able to propagate peppers.
That's what he said. Yeah. Birds eat. Birds eat. Actually,
But it's just a
oh, nice.
any, well,
Thanks. Since there is this craze of chili oil and chili crisp, and then you said that the farmers it's not that profitable for them, so they're switching to other crops. Is there any, like, are you scared that there isn't going to be enough, or is there plenty and you don't have anything to worry about?
I wish that actually, yeah, that would be actually a good problem to have for now. No, I think, I think there's still plenty, but I think the key issue is importing the good ones into the US. You have to meet the FDA standard. You cannot have too much artificial stuff, and a lot of the people in China. I mean, if you just use domestically and then you don't really care about this, but to be able to export, then you have to fulfill a lot of things. So yes, there are plenty, but also there's not many, because when I go around over the summer, I was going around those provinces and trying to find good sources. I realized not many can it is good enough to be exported, and then also, because it also has to meet my own criteria. Like, they have to do our own branding, or help us do the branding to also make it very clean and all of that. So yeah, so no, it's a problem. It's a good problem to think actually down the line. And like sriracha, right? Sriracha, they used to import. They become so huge, and then they actually have to grow their own chili peppers in California. So yeah, that if we come to that, I'll grow something in Shenandoah Valley, in Virginia.
great, thank you so much. Can we give, a round of applause?
Thank you so much for showing up. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Culinary program, from MOCA cooks, teeth tasting, coming up, and performances, sound samples. So please, check out our websites. Most events are free or low cost. So thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
Thank you guys because your skin is so good.
Oh,
Sichuan people always have the best skin. Isn't it?
No, I was thinking you would not be good for skin.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you.